Okay, so I'm sitting here in my office right now. It's late, past midnight, and the only light in the room is coming from the glow of the monitors around me. I should be exhausted after a day of meetings, technical reviews, and endless emails, but for some reason, I can't sleep. Normally, I'd keep pushing forward, keep working on the next problem. That's just how I've always operated. Optimize the system, iterate, keep moving. But tonight feels different. There's this heaviness in the air, this sense that something's pressing in on me, and it's not about deadlines or rockets or code. It's something deeper, something I can't quite explain. I've spent my life chasing progress. Mars, sustainable energy, AI breakthroughs, you name it. And don't get me wrong, those things still matter. They're important, maybe even essential for the future of humanity. But sitting here tonight, staring at another screen full of data, I felt a restlessness I couldn't ignore. Like no matter how far we've come, no matter how many problems we solve, there's a part of me, and maybe a part of all of us, that's still unsatisfied. You know that feeling when you've optimized everything you can think of, but it still doesn't feel right? That's what hit me. And the crazy part is, it wasn't about my work. It was about me. I tried to brush it off at first, told myself I was just tired, maybe I needed more sleep or a break. But as the minutes stretched into hours, that restless feeling only grew stronger. It was like something was waiting for me to stop running simulations in my head long enough to notice it. So I did something I almost never do. I stopped. I closed the laptop, pushed back from the desk, and just sat there in the silence. And in that silence, I had this overwhelming sense that something was about to happen. Not a launch, not a breakthrough, but something infinitely bigger. I didn't know what it was yet, but I could feel it, like the atmosphere before a storm, charged and expectant. Deep down, I knew I was about to see something that would change everything. Not just for me, but for all of us. That's when it happened. I don't know how to describe this in a way that makes sense logically, but I'll do my best. One moment the room was just still and silent, and the next, I wasn't alone anymore. It wasn't like someone walked through the door or appeared out of thin air in some dramatic Hollywood way. It was quieter, almost subtle, but more real than anything I've ever experienced. I felt a presence before I even saw him, and then there he was. Jesus. Not an idea, not a memory, not some abstract religious figure people argue about on the internet. The living Jesus, standing right there in my office. The first thing I felt wasn't fear, which honestly surprised me. It was peace. A kind of peace I've never known before, not in the middle of a successful launch, not after a breakthrough in engineering, not even in the quiet moments when I thought I was content. This peace went deeper. It was like every part of me, my questions, my anxieties, my endless drive, suddenly stilled in his presence. But along with the peace came something else. Urgency. Like he wasn't just there for me to feel comforted, but because there was something I needed to see, something humanity needed to hear. He didn't start by talking about rockets or AI or any of the things I usually obsess over. His eyes, though, that's what undid me. They carried this infinite love, but also this sorrow, like he'd been watching humanity chase after everything except what matters most. And in that moment, I understood. This wasn't about Mars, or energy, or technology. This was about hearts. Our hearts. He hadn't come to discuss the future of innovation. He'd come to reveal the future of humanity. I sat there frozen, every logical part of me scrambling to process what was happening, but deep down I knew it was real. The peace, the clarity. It wasn't something I could manufacture. And I realized this encounter was going to change everything. Not just the way I see my work, but the way I see existence itself. As I sat there in his presence, Jesus began to show me things. It wasn't like watching a movie or scrolling through data on a screen. It was deeper, like my entire perspective was being shifted. Suddenly, I could see humanity not just as scattered individuals, but as one interconnected system. And what I saw broke me. All across the world, division was spreading like wildfire. Families torn apart over politics, communities fractured over ideology, people isolating themselves, hiding behind screens, convinced that everyone who disagreed with them was the enemy. It wasn't just disagreement, it was polarization, disconnection, even hatred, and yet, it wasn't random. I understood instantly that what I was seeing wasn't chaos without purpose. It was a kind of stress test. You know when you're building a rocket or designing a new system, you have to push it to the breaking point to see where the weak spots are? That's what was happening to humanity. The pressure, the conflict, the polarization. They were exposing the cracks in our foundations, showing us where love was missing. Jesus wasn't pointing this out to condemn us. His eyes held too much compassion for that. He was showing me so we could understand. Division doesn't happen just to frustrate us. It reveals the places where healing is needed most. It reveals the fault lines where love hasn't yet taken root. And the tragedy wasn't that people disagreed. It was that we'd forgotten how to love each other in the middle of disagreement. We built entire systems to amplify outrage, to reward division, to turn neighbors into adversaries. But the truth he pressed into my heart was this: division can either destroy us, or it can become the catalyst that drives us back to love. Stress tests don't exist to break the system. They exist to show what must be strengthened. As he revealed this to me, I realized that humanity's greatest crisis wasn't technological or political, it was relational. And if we don't face that, all the progress we make in every other area will collapse under the weight of our disconnection. Then Jesus showed me another vision. This time it wasn't about division, it was about what we've built. I saw rockets piercing the sky, AI algorithms running at speeds no human mind could match, solar arrays stretching across entire landscapes, neural interfaces connecting brains to machines. It was breathtaking. Humanity has accomplished things that would have looked like science fiction only a generation ago. But as I looked closer, I saw something missing. These achievements were incredible, but they were hollow. Like we had built the most advanced tools imaginable, but forgotten the reason for building them. And then I heard it, not in words, but in understanding. Without love, technology becomes empty. It doesn't matter how powerful AI becomes if it disconnects us from one another. It doesn't matter if we colonize Mars, if we bring broken hearts and fractured relationships with us. It doesn't matter how efficient our energy systems are if we use them only to fuel greed instead of service. In that moment, I understood that love isn't just some optional add-on to human progress. It's the operating system. Without it, everything else crashes eventually. And Jesus wasn't telling me to abandon technology. Far from it. He was showing me its true purpose: to serve love, to lift people up, to connect us instead of isolate us, to heal instead of exploit. Innovation is powerful, but without compassion and divine purpose, it becomes just another idol we worship, another tower we build to reach the heavens while ignoring the God who gave us the creativity in the first place. The message couldn't have been clearer. The question isn't how advanced our technology will become, but whether we'll use it in alignment with love. If we don't, all our progress will be meaningless. But if we do, those same breakthroughs could become tools for transformation on a scale we can barely imagine. And as that truth settled into my spirit, I knew the future of humanity won't be decided by the limits of science. It will be decided by the presence or absence of love guiding everything we create. The next thing Jesus showed me was harder to watch because it hit so close to home. I saw people everywhere putting their trust in systems that looked strong on the outside but were fragile underneath. Some were clinging to wealth as if money could shield them from fear, as if it could buy them purpose, love, or eternal security. Others were pouring their hope into politics, convinced that if they just elected the right leaders, passed the right laws, or built the right nations, everything would be okay. And then there were those who trusted in human systems, science, corporations, even technology itself, as though these constructs were unshakable foundations. But as I looked deeper, I saw the cracks. Wealth that once seemed limitless evaporated overnight. Political systems that looked stable crumbled under corruption and conflict. Technologies that promised connection and safety ended up amplifying loneliness and division. It was like watching carefully built towers collapse in slow motion. Jesus' eyes never left mine as I saw this unfold, and I understood what he was saying without words. These things aren't evil in themselves. Money, leadership, innovation, they can all serve good purposes. But when we treat them as gods, as the ultimate source of our security, they will fail us every single time, because none of them were designed to bear the weight of eternity. And here's what struck me most. The collapse wasn't punishment, it was revelation. These systems faltered so that humanity would finally realize what they could never provide. Only spiritual foundations, faith, love, relationship with God, can endure what's coming. Everything else, no matter how advanced or powerful, is temporary scaffolding. Jesus was inviting us to shift our trust, not away from progress, but away from the illusion that progress alone can save us. And as that truth settled in my spirit, I realized how often I'd put too much faith in my own ability to engineer solutions. But in the end, only one foundation can't be shaken: God's love and His kingdom. Everything else is a structure that time will eventually test and expose. After that, Jesus opened my eyes to something even bigger. I saw the earth itself, almost as if creation was alive and groaning. Storms raged with greater intensity, oceans rose, fires consumed forests, and tremors shook the ground beneath cities. Natural disasters seemed to multiply, leaving people fearful and disoriented. For a moment, I thought this vision was about judgment, about punishment for humanity's mistakes. But then I felt His presence clarify the truth. These weren't punishments, they were signals. Creation itself was crying out for restoration, longing for the renewal that would come with his return. It was like the earth was echoing the emptiness inside human hearts, showing us physically what was broken spiritually. And I understood something I'd overlooked so many times. The planet was never ours to exploit without consequence. It was entrusted to us, to steward, to care for, with humility, to treat not as a machine for extraction, but as a living system designed to flourish in harmony with us. Jesus wasn't condemning humanity for technological progress. He was reminding me that progress without responsibility creates imbalance, and that imbalance reveals itself in the natural world. Climate disruptions, ecological collapse, environmental unrest. These were not just scientific phenomena. They were spiritual reminders that everything in creation is interconnected. The call wasn't to fear, but to responsibility. To stop seeing the earth as just raw material for human ambition and start treating it as a sacred trust. We're not separate from creation, we're part of it, and when we neglect it, we harm ourselves in the process. And yet, there was hope even in the vision. I saw glimpses of communities restoring land, healing ecosystems, using technology not to dominate nature, but to protect and renew it. The message was clear. Humanity is called to steward the planet with both responsibility and humility. Creation itself is waiting for us to realign with love, to prepare for the day when Jesus returns and makes all things new. Then Jesus showed me something that filled me with more hope than I've ever felt in my life. I saw people all over the world turning back to God, not through religion, not through institutions, not because of some official campaign, but through direct encounters with Jesus himself. It wasn't confined to one nation, one denomination, or one culture. It was happening everywhere. In cities lit with neon, in villages without electricity, in corporate boardrooms, and crowded marketplaces, people were suddenly aware of his presence, aware of his love. They weren't joining a religion, they were discovering a relationship. And it wasn't just individuals. Communities were being transformed. Entire neighborhoods that once felt heavy with despair became places of hope. Families once divided by bitterness were reconciled. Nations that had been enemies began working together in ways no political agreement had ever achieved. It was like light spreading across a darkened map, not all at once, but wave after wave, heart by heart. And here's what stunned me. Technology, which I had often seen as a double-edged sword, was being redeemed in this awakening. Instead of amplifying fear and division, it was being used to spread love, truth, and hope. Streams, messages, platforms, networks, all the tools that once made us more isolated, were suddenly connecting people in deeper, more authentic ways. I saw testimonies going viral, not because they were sensational, but because they were real. People weren't impressed with flashy production. They were hungry for authenticity, for encounters with the living Jesus. And every time someone shared their story, it sparked something in someone else. The Spirit moved faster than algorithms ever could. Jesus' eyes were filled with joy as he showed me this. It wasn't forced. It wasn't manufactured. It was love awakening people, one soul at a time. And I realized this was the beginning of the greatest revival in history, not built on human systems, but on the presence of God moving freely across the earth. It was a great awakening, and it was already unfolding. But then the vision shifted again, and what I saw next carried a weight I could hardly bear. Jesus showed me a moment of decision, a time unlike any before, when humanity would be faced with a choice that couldn't be ignored. It wasn't about politics, wealth, or even survival. It was about love or fear, truth or deception. I saw two paths stretching before people everywhere. On one path, there was light, hearts open, lives surrendered, love overflowing in action and compassion. On the other path, there was darkness, fear gripping people, deception spreading like wildfire, lies dressed up as truth. And here's what struck me. The decision wasn't abstract. It wasn't some distant prophecy. It was personal. Every person, every culture, every community would have to choose which path they would walk. There would be no neutrality. Jesus' presence was urgent, not harsh, but insistent, like someone shaking you awake before a fire consumes the building. His return, he made clear, wasn't about destruction, it was about restoration. But restoration requires recognition. It requires humanity to see that all the false securities, all the hollow pursuits, all the systems we've built apart from love can't save us. And the urgency wasn't about fear of punishment. It was about the opportunity of love. He was showing me that time itself was narrowing, that the space to choose was still open, but it wouldn't stay open forever. And the preparation he was calling for wasn't just about building better systems or solving bigger problems. It was about preparing hearts. Systems matter, progress matters, but none of it can stand without hearts that are aligned with love. As I watched, I felt the weight of that invitation pressing on me. It was clear this wasn't just a message for humanity in general. It was a message for me, for you, for anyone willing to hear. The choice is here, and the time is now. love or fear, truth or deception, restoration or collapse. Jesus' return isn't the end of the story, it's the beginning of everything we've been longing for, but we have to be ready. The final vision Jesus showed me wasn't about systems or technology or even the future of nations. It was about something so simple I almost missed it. He showed me relationships. I saw moments of compassion. One person helping another carry groceries, a friend sitting with someone in silence during grief, strangers offering shelter to the homeless, families reconciling after years of bitterness. None of it looked spectacular. None of it would make headlines or go viral. But in his eyes, these were the greatest victories of all. Jesus made it clear, success, innovation, and progress mean nothing without love. All the rockets, the breakthroughs, the milestones humanity achieves, they're temporary. What lasts forever are the small acts of love that ripple through eternity. Every time we forgive instead of holding on to resentment, every time we choose kindness over indifference, every time we serve someone without expecting anything in return, we're preparing for His kingdom, and I realized how much I had overlooked this in my own life. I've measured significance in terms of scale. How many people can this innovation help? How many lives can this solution touch? But Jesus reminded me that the most transformative moments often happen in quiet, unseen ways. A kind word, a listening ear, a meal shared. These are not just good deeds. They're the very fabric of eternity. He pressed into me that relationships aren't a distraction from progress. They're the point of progress. Forgiveness isn't weakness, it's the power that breaks cycles of hatred. Service isn't wasted energy, it's the way love multiplies. What matters most isn't what we build, but who we become and how we treat the people around us while we're building it. In that moment, I understood that every small act of love isn't just preparation for His return. It's a piece of His kingdom breaking into the present. When the visions faded and I was left sitting there in the quiet of my office, I knew I couldn't go back to life as usual. For all my drive to solve problems, to push humanity forward, I had to admit something. I can't engineer my way into eternity. I can't optimize my soul. I need Jesus. I need to surrender, to trust, to let His love guide not just my work, but my entire life. And I realized that if I need this, then so do you. This isn't just about me, or about the future of technology. It's about you and the life you're living right now. Don't wait. Don't tell yourself you'll figure it out later, after the next milestone, after the next crisis, after you've accomplished more. Later isn't guaranteed. The invitation is now. Start preparing your life, not by building bigger plans, but by opening your heart. Preparing doesn't mean fear, it means readiness. It means letting go of control and trusting the one who holds the future. It means learning to love deeply, forgive freely, serve generously. It means living like eternity is real because it is. And so I want to close with a prayer. If you're listening to this and something inside you is stirring, let these words be your own. God, thank you for reminding us that we're not alone in this story. Thank you for showing us what truly matters. Give us wisdom to see through deception, courage to choose love over fear, and readiness for the day your kingdom comes in fullness. Help us to surrender our egos, our ambitions, our false securities, and to trust you with everything. Make us people of compassion, forgiveness, and service. Prepare our hearts for what's coming. As I finish this, I want you to hear me clearly. Jesus is returning, and it won't be destruction. It will be restoration, beauty beyond anything we've imagined. The systems of this world may falter, but His love will never fail. And if we choose to trust Him now, we'll be ready for the future He's already preparing for us. Don't be afraid. Get ready. The best is yet to come. This story was intense, but my story on the right-hand side is even more insane.